My name is David Peterson, and I'll be the one reporting for our Australia 1 on our Outer Circle English of Pakistani English. Pakistani English is, of course, spoken in Pakistan, and um, it kind of holds the official status and the lingua franca of the Pakistani elite and the government of Pakistan, and that's according to the CIA fact book. In terms of the number of people who speak it, there's a huge amount of variability across some of the sources that I saw. The CIA fact book says it's about 8% of the population of Pakistan, which I did the math, and that's around 15 million people, probably a little bit less because it was in the other category, and there could be some, of course, other languages in there as well. Um, so, definitely not a majority language in Pakistan, but it is spoken in, like I said, in the government and by the some of the more elite in Pakistan. Yeah, so like I kind of mentioned, the prestige, it's not spoken by the masses. It's the language used most in government and courts by judges, and it is the language, one of the main languages of education, along with Urdu in Pakistan. A lot of schools um, either use English as the medium of education or bilingually with Urdu or another language more specific to the region. Um, According to the main source that I got was written by a man named Aman Mahbub, and he looks like he does a lot of research in Pakistani English. He was a great source for a lot of the information in this video. He said that um, English education materials in Pakistan, in the more commonly spoken languages, they're readily available and they have well access to them, but there's a lack of materials for teaching language or for teaching the English language in some of the minority languages in Pakistan. Sort of the way English is viewed in Pakistan, like I said, it's not spoken by the masses, and many of the people, most of the people, and more than 90% of the people really in Pakistan are Muslim, and the rest of to make up 100% are other religions. And the religious people of Pakistan, which as we can see is a majority, don't really have the fondest view of English. Um, One quote that Mahbub gave is, "The English have gone, but they've left behind their language that enslaves us." This is, of course, referring to the English colonialization of this area. And they obviously see it as sort of a bad memory, and they've got a bad taste in their mouth still about English still being in their country despite them having their own independence now. Um, yeah, so like I said, English predates the state of Pakistan by a long time because the state of Pakistan wasn't created till 1947, but English has been being spoken there by English colonists and local people for much longer than that. In terms of how English is looking for the long term in Pakistan, Mahbub gave a really good list of reasons why they haven't been able to kick English up until this point, and they should hold true in the future. And it's that there's insufficient material produced in local languages um, in all the various types and levels of educational institutions. So, in other words, their educational infrastructure is built on English, and it's kind of hard now to change that. Another reason is there's no other politically neutral languages that can replace English. Like I said, um, a lot of the motivation to get rid of English is religious, and not all of these religious parties agree. So English has sort of taken the role of neutrality in this country, um, and it's just really hard to pick another language that wouldn't make a lot of people angry. So they're sort of just erring on the side of neutrality and keeping English around. The other thing is that these religious parties don't have sufficient political power to really change the situation, where they'd rather have another language of government other than English. The last point on the list is, and this is really sort of the catch-all, is that the groups with economic, social, and political strength are the ones that believe that English is perfectly fine being the language of government. They like the prestige that it carries. So it's interesting, and it's kind of obvious in a way that if the people who are in charge like English, it's not going anywhere. And the majority of the people, since they're not in charge, I mean, kind of just have to roll over, because they're not in a position where they can really change what they want. Um, One really quick, interesting story. I'm going to try and go through this fast. Is there actually was a political coup in 1977, and the General Hawk, I believe is how you'd say it. He actually changed the education system from English to Urdu and mandated that everything be in Urdu from that point forward. And so during that era, there actually was a fairly large regression of English. But after the coup was over and the government that exists now took back over, um, English has really crept its way back up to the standing that it held before, and in in its prominence in government and education. To go into a little bit of the details on how this English is different from our group's dialect of English, we all happen to be native speakers of American English, and if you look at our video clip, you can see that one of the main differences is that it's a British influence thing, that the R sound that we normally say in a word like members, she says members. And so we can see that the R is being reduced to sort of a dark R in when they're not in the onset of a word. Sort of and then a phonetic thing, of course, would be it seems like they use a lot more aspiration than we do in our dialect of English. There's multiple words that you can hear it really strongly in. She says the word happiness. She also says the word humbled. And her production of them is happiness and humbled. She really aspirates that H at the beginning of the word. In semantics, there's some really interesting differences in the semantics also of Pakistani English. And I picked a few and I'll go over them. The first one is painting. And they use this almost exactly the way we'd use the word hurting. But so you could say my head is paining, like that. Also, pass out. We only have one real meaning for the word pass out, and that's to faint or to go unconscious, right? But they use it to mean like to graduate. So if you pass out of college or pass out of high school, that means you graduated. And the last thing is we know in a lot of World English is especially the kinship terms have a large influence from the local variety of languages that they're speaking, and they use the word cousin brother or cousin sister to refer specifically to a first cousin male or a first cousin female. So cousin brother, cousin sister. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned a lot about Pakistani English, and that's it.